गुड इवनिंग जेंटलमैन। दोस्तों, गुड इवनिंग। मैं एक बड़ी इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक के ऊपर आपके साथ बात करने वाला हूँ आज। आई एम रादर गोइंग टॉक टू यू ऑन अ टॉपिक which is universal at the moment and which is likely to create a lot of problem for the world, and that is the conduct of Joe Biden. I think I'm trying to analyze this man as to what's his problem really, and I have reached some conclusion. I think he's now 82, and there are some people who are in complete control of their faculties at that time, but I think this man has gone off the bonkers. It's a very sad thing to say, but that's a fact. I'm talking of his latest decision as far as the Ukraine war is concerned. No sane man would have taken that decision, and at a time when he's a lame duck president. I mean, he's got no authority really to take such major decisions, but he's taken them. And one of the decisions which is going to boomerang badly, not only on to Biden, I think he's will escape the wrath of his decision because he'll go into retirement. It is the American people who will have to pay for it. His decision to allow the Ukrainian armed forces to strike the hinterland of Russia with the missiles given by NATO, and the insistence that you strike before 20th January. Now, why 20th January? Because 20th January is the day Donald Trump will assume the presidency of America. So he wants to act before that and present Donald Trump with what is called a fait accompli. That means something which is inevitable, and Trump will be very hard pressed to deal with it. I think already he's spoken to Putin, and they must have exchanged something, but I don't know really what's transpired with them. And now I have news that yesterday I think the Ukrainian forces struck the hinterland of Russia with missiles. The Russians say they intercepted them. There were no casualties, but the fact remains that the battle has started in real earnest because Zelensky, as I told you himself, is a man who's a puppet of the Americans, puppet or rather of Biden, and he's fighting for God knows what. And he's all agog like a tiger, to see that he can use those missiles. But then, there's an old saying that when you light a fire, you get singed, you get burnt yourself. And that's what's likely to happen to Mr. Zelensky. Because the Russians have changed their doctrine. I think I went to one of the press conferences given by Vladimir Putin, and he made it very clear that what he's going to do now is change the doctrine. Earlier, the doctrine said that they would be attacking and defending only they would use nuclear weapons only against those countries which are nuclear powers and had committed an aggression against them. But he revised it and said that he would use his nuclear weapons even against non-nuclear states who attack Russia. And he's also said that the missiles which have been fired could not have been fired by the Ukrainians, have been fired by the Americans, and in that case he said, I consider we are at war with NATO. Now I think it's my personal feeling that the European powers must be really frightened. I think the smaller powers like say Belgium, Holland and Sweden, they should be pretty worried because they're the ones who are going to feel the brunt of the Russian wrath. And tomorrow this becomes the Third World War. I think these countries can just say bye-bye to the existence of the world map. America, of course, would also suffer badly, but then Joe Biden would have quietly gone home. He would sitting in his cottage, and relaxing. Because I think he's become senile, and it is just about time that the Senate stopped him. Because only people who can stop him is the Senate, and they have a responsibility to the people of America. Donald Trump, unfortunately, though having won the election with a big margin, is nowhere close to the seats of power, and he's got another 2 months to go. before he can take over at the presidency of America. But the damage would have been done by them, unless, of course, Putin is a little more thoughtful. I don't know what's transpired between him and Donald Trump. He could choose not to react for initially and wait till 20th of January. In that case, our good friend Biden would be greatly perturbed because his plan would have failed. If I were Putin, I think I would give a limited response to the provocation from Ukraine and wait for Donald Trump to come back to power. That means sit again in the seat of the president in the White House, and then, as promised by Donald Trump, in which he had said that he would see that the war in Ukraine is stopped, he would stop it. He said he would do it in 24 hours. Maybe that's an overstatement, but maybe within a month, I am sure Donald Trump would bring about a ceasefire in Ukraine. Obviously, Zelensky doesn't want it. He's being one of those very stupid persons who's just hanging around, doing nothing, creating a warmonger. And I think it's about time that he was declared an international criminal, war criminal, and tried by the International Court. But unfortunately, the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, is just a handiwork or the puppet of the Western powers, particularly France and England and these countries. And I think Putin, in his speech, in his address to the press, made two very important points. He said Japan, which was claiming to be a friend, has put sanctions on us because we are not harmed the Japanese anyway. He also mentioned that Macron, who's the French president, was supposed to be having very good relations with him, but he's also followed suit, put sanctions on Russia. What for? The fact arises that these people, these countries, are just the yes men of the Americans. Rather, the slaves. The Americans say jump, and like the ringmaster, the Americans say jump, and these people start jumping up and down. I think in world politics this would be a very sad occurrence, and it would show that the French and the Japanese really have no spine at all. And I don't understand how Japan can really forgive America for dropping the two atomic bombs and killing 200,000 people. But that's beside the point now, because the Japanese have accepted it, and probably they're very cockahoo about it and happy that it happened. I don't know about it. And when I see the Japanese leadership, they look so senile, so old, spent out, and probably relying on America all the time. The French are at the other end, and they got to face up the Islamic threat, which they have. 10% of the population, I think, is Islamic, and they want the Sharia. They've created enough havoc in France, and France is going to be in real problem because of the simple reason that the French themselves failed to integrate the Islamic population with the mainstream of France. America is a wonderful country, as I said, but their system of governance is very difficult. The president has all the powers. I don't know how you can have all the powers and he can do anything. And this decision of Joe Biden is going to boomerang very badly on the Americans. I have a silver lining. I hope Putin is reasonable. He doesn't go into revenge mode. If he does it, there is no option that the West will be destroyed. I think it's an understatement. It's like going back to the Stone Age. And America, with all its skyscrapers, everything, will be hard-pressed just for the decision of one man, that is Joe Biden. And he's going to suffer very badly. And I don't know, Trump, when he takes over on 20th January, what's going to be the situation? Because 2 months more, this man can do anything. He can light a fire, he can play hell into the system of the world. I don't know what's his really enmity with Russia. and he's so soft on the Chinese. And rather, he's scared of the Chinese. That's all I can say. And China has got a bamboo which they've given to Joe Biden, and they have been helping his son with a lot of pecuniary benefits. That's what I've been reading in the press. May not be true or true, but you can't have smoke without fire. But as I've said, it's been a very lackluster presidency of this man. Something like what Jimmy Carter did. I think he was another lackluster president. And now we have this man, and he doesn't know which way the wind is blowing. I think he's feeling very hurt that he's not been given the nomination by the Republican Party. And probably he must be fancying that if I had nomination, I would have won against Trump. I don't think so. He would have gone into the dustbin of history in any case as one of the more non-disc presidents of America. And he's taken America to the brink of World War III and total destruction. All I can say is that I hope Vladimir Putin is intelligent enough to see through the game of Biden. At the same time, I think the American Senate must exert itself. It's about time. Let's see what happens, gentlemen. I think I'll close now. If you like my video, share it with your friends and give your comments. I look forward to them. In the meanwhile, I'll say God bless, goodbye, and Jai Hind.